Hello, everybody. I'm saying everybody in the hopes that people actually got the notification or saw the tweet and I won't have to go to Twitter to tweet out again. So I will be reading Miss, as it says in the name, House of Sky and Breath, which I have only heard negative. Negative feels like a very strong word, but Monet and Aaron have been sending very not positive things in the chat, and I'm confusion because both of them have given this book like 1 star, but I believe Aaron is either in the middle of filming or halfway to Target to buy matching editions. So kind of confused, but hello, welcome. Dakayla, welcome. I think we'll do the first sprint at 5. That feels like a 4-minute warning. Just get that first one in nice and quick here. 25-minute sprints as usual. Will there only be 4? I'm not sure. It honestly depends on how bad this book is and if I can continue to read after 4 sprints. I will cap it at 6 though, because there's no way I can do more than 6, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Hello, Anna. Welcome. I am currently like 130 pages into this book. And like nothing has happened at all, which was like the same thing that happened with House of Earth and Blood. So I'm just kind of like, I understand that people like Sarah don't get edited, but I'm just kind of like, why are we publishing things that are 800 pages if we're not editing it? And if we are editing it, I'm curious how long this book was. Like, I'm very curious. Welcome. Escaping Exodus for, I'm assuming that's for a Blackathon, unless you also just really wanted to read Escaping Exodus. You're probably going to read the entirety of Recitative. Yeah. Well, I guess if you're reading it physically, it's very short. But I am curious to see what your thoughts are, because I definitely read it after I watched your TBR. And I was like, oh yeah, I have that audiobook. And so I listened to it last week. And it was good. I wouldn't read the foreword before the story because Zadie Smith just tells you everything that's going to happen in the story. So I said, oh, thanks for telling me and analyzing before I read it. Didn't think, I did not think that one through, but it was still really good. I had a good time. You're supposed to start a new book yesterday and you got caught up in the excitement of meeting okay, that's understandable. That's understandable. Hopefully your little meet and greet, the book signing went well. Reading Serpent and Dove. I have never read of this. Never. I mean, I've heard it, but I haven't read it. I don't know if that made sense when I said it the first time. Also, roughly 1 minute warning to the sprint. Reading Olga Dies Dreaming. I have heard of this. Yes, the house. Okay, you're not calling it Bad Breath. Yeah, it's long, and the first one was already long, and I'm just kind of like, Sarah, girl, what are we doing? That's what I said. I was like, we could have just tucked this in after the story. Like, after I read, once I was in the middle of the story, I was like, because at first I was listening to Zadie Smith give the little essay or whatever, and I was like, okay, this seems like a lot of information when I know the story is like 19 pages. But at first I was like, okay, like that's just the first meeting. But then she gave me like the whole outline, the point by point bulletin, and I said, Zadie, you know you're writing the introduction. And this book has been out for, forever, so I'm assuming people have already read Recitative. But if you had never had to read it and you were reading this edition for the first time, I would just read the story and then her introduction. But it is 5. and I don't want to be a liar today. So we're gonna do our first sprint. We're gonna get going, and then we can come back and chat about how things went in our books. Welcome back. I'm now on page 178. Almost done with chapter 13, I think. No, almost done with chapter 15. Um Demon Daddy himself just popped into the story to give us exposition. Um Almost 200 pages in, and we're still getting exposition. So hate that for me. But it's fine or whatever. It's fine. It's Demon Daddy, so I'm not going to be too upset. But I think we'll do the next sprint at 40. So nice little 9-minute warning. You're reading Adulthood Rights. Never heard of it. Hopefully it's going well. You thought you had read the intro. Oh. So I see. Okay, love that for you. The book I think is good. I still want to know if I would have liked the book if I hadn't read the intro first, but we'll never know. We don't live in that reality. You just joined in the last 5 minutes. You're listening to Sky Falling by Mia Mackenzie. You're gonna start Yoke. If you hate it, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know if you hate it. You had read 10 pages and you felt like she was gonna wrap it up. Yeah, like it was a really good essay, but I was also like, Zadie, could we I think the audiobook for that one is just under 2 hours, and a good hour of it is the intro. And I said, "Okay, thanks for the essay about a book I hadn't read yet with points from the book I hadn't read, but it was entertaining. I enjoyed it. I had a good time with her little essay. 9% more of Escaping Exodus. It's the book After Dawn. Okay, love that for the culture. You just started Ray Bearer. You're about 55 pages in. I have not read Ray Bearer. Hopefully you're having I've actually heard good things about Ray Bearer. It's what is that second book? Redemptor? Redemptor seems to be the book that nobody likes. So I'm hoping that you are enjoying that. Just joining, going to be reading Falling in Love with Hominids. Never heard of it. See, y'all are reading such cultured books, and I'm over here reading Sarah J. Maas. So, love that for y'all. I also feel like y'all are having a better time because this book put me to sleep just a little bit. But at the same time, it feels just like the first book. So, I'm just kind of like I already knew that this wasn't the series for me, but I was hoping that maybe it could be. Your best friend also loved Yoke, and you got your copy from them. See, it's impossible not to like that book. It's quality. One of my favorite books of last year. Sometimes the Black Penguin Classic have a little thing in the intro saying, "Please be advised, details of the plot will be made explicit." I mean, that is a very fancy spoiler alert. That's very fancy. I think though, how do I phrase this? For Rust of Teeth, I wasn't as annoyed that I got like all of this analyzing of the plot because the book exists to be analyzed. So like I don't know if you can talk about it without analyzing it a little bit. I just hadn't expected it. So I said, okay. Um it is what it is. And I also when I was reading, I was definitely stubborn because I do think that the book presents you with reasons to like change your mind about which characters, the black person and which characters the white person. And I just refused to look at new evidence as it was given to me. And so The person I just said, "Yeah, that's it. That's the character. That's the character." And I think at the end of the book, after all is said and done, I feel very confident in my decision about who I think is a black character and who I think is a white character. So, I love that for me. Love that for me personally. Ray Bear was amazing. Hello. You watched House of Sky and Breath spoiler vlogs today. So here I tweeted about this, but Monet was saying that there was a spoiler that she did not want to share with the chat. And so I said, let me take myself to Twitter and find the spoiler because I know I'm going to find the spoiler. And instead I found a spoiler for like literally the end of the book. And I still hate that that's a thing that's going to happen in this book because I was also very confident that this particular thing was just never going to happen. And I feel like a lot of people are very confident that this was a thing that was not going to happen. And part of me feels very silly, because I think it was literally on my last round of sprints. I was telling people that they should just pick up Crescent City because it's like, just pick up Crescent City. And I no longer feel like you can do that while not being explicit with the spoiler. You have thoughts about Ray Bear? Take that how you like it. Oh, that doesn't give positivity, but I think I would also say that about a lot of the books that I've read. Because I like have thoughts about the Poppy War series that I have shared with the public now. Um, most of which are not positive, but some of which are very positive. So also between me and the 23 people who are here to read with me, I definitely said that I wasn't going to purchase. Definitely wasn't going to purchase um the Babel from Waterstones. But between us, just us friends here on the live, I think I'm going to ignore that tweet. And if copies are still available at the end of whenever we're done reading, I think I will be purchasing a copy. I think I will be pre-ordering that $42 edition. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. Click and check out, but I think I'm gonna do it. Just between all of us here. You're reading The Marriage He Demands by Brenda Jackson, and it's meh. Interesting. Brenda Jackson sounds like a familiar name. I don't know if those are two very common names that have just been given to a singular human. I think that's what it is, but it also sounds very familiar. Like I feel like I can see that name on book covers. Is it a romance author or is it not? I mean, the title is also giving romance, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. I mean, I think you can keep putting it off. I would definitely go to bed. I would just go to sleep and worry about it in the morning because I've read almost 200 pages, and so far the only interesting characters are the characters that have been dead. So you're going to read Empire the Vampire. I had a good time. I gave that 3 stars. I was already going to purchase the UK edition because I think that cover is just better. But I think what kills me is Waterstones' shipping. I'm like, Blackwell's will send it to me for free, and you're charging me another $13 for what? Like I think Waterstones actually gives you tracking information, but honestly, you could just not. You could give me the don't send me tracking information. It can just show up at my doorstep. I say watch it. I say watch it. Do I make good points? I think so. But I also think it's an entertaining time. Reading Bitter. I have to read that next month, I think. That's the Pet prequel, right? So I probably should buy a copy or put it on hold at my library. She is romance. But it is 40. It is almost 41. So before we click over, I'm going to bring back our little friend, the timer. We're going to do some reading. Be productive. Welcome back. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But welcome back, readers. I have made it to page 220. So I think that's like a quarter of the way in. Things are happening. Like, is it great things? Remains to be determined. I don't know. But things in general have occurred. Hunt is still a little bitch. Don't know how anybody likes that man. Bryce is present. And everyone else is the people I care about aren't present enough. And the actual plot of the book is it feels like a spoiler to discuss, but it is definitely heavily reliant on characters that we don't follow, even though we are following characters tangentially related to them. But it is definitely an odd choice to have the characters who are like the driving force once again be absent from the narrative. And I don't understand how Crescent City as a series can continue to do this. Like the first book, murder mystery, sure. Book 2, a missing persons case. And that's being generous. Like that's I think the most generous way to describe this. It's like a missing persons case meets another war book. And it kills me that Sarah J. Maas keeps like falling back on this wartime fantasy when she's already written Throne of Glass. Like Throne of Glass, I would argue, is one of the better war narratives because it was about the war from jump. Like from jump, it was a wartime story. Well, I guess Throne of Glass, like the first book, wasn't, but moving into Crown of Midnight on, it was very clearly setting up like this world war situation. But her series after don't set those things up. They just kind of happen in the background. And I'm really over wartime fantasy, I think. I don't think it helps that I just marathon the Poppy War and that's just all war all the time. And I think the fantasy I read before that was also war. I just need these fantasy authors to find something new, you know? Be like Heather Walter, you know? Give us the wartime fantasy that doesn't feel like wartime fantasy. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe. Let's see how the other people are doing though. You ended up reading the first 20 pages of Panic by Sharon Draper. You've had it forever and you're trying to unhaul some of your YA. Interesting. You'll have to let me know how it's going. Reading The Conductors by Nicole Glover. Is that the first book in that series or is that the second book? Because it does sound familiar. I know that I haven't read it, but it does sound like something that I have seen. And the covers of those books are kind of nice. They're pleasant to look at and experience. That feels like a weird way to say that, but they are pretty covers. Moving on, I do think we're going to do the next sprint at 15. Is that enough time? I'm going to say it is. So 5-minute warning until the next sprint. Overall, my goal going into this Innocence Night was to get to the halfway point. Having read for 50 minutes, I don't think I'm going to read another 200 pages tonight. So we're going to try and rescale my expectations. It's the first book. You read the first story, which was about 20 pages. The first story in what was this you were reading? Thoughts about rape. Really? Falling in love with hominids. Okay. Interesting. How was it? I haven't. I guess I could look this up. You know what? Let's just. Let's open up my good friend's Goodreads. Falling oh, I don't wanna add it to my shelves. That's what I don't wanna do, cancel. Just wanna look this up. Falling in love with now we'll see if this Goodreads app of course it doesn't want to. One day, me and the Goodreads app are gonna be friends. This is a hideous cover. Maybe that's just me, but that cover is not very pretty to look at. But at least it's short. 200 pages. One of our most important writers. Okay, but what is the book about? Afro-Caribbean folklore. Okay, interesting. It was good. It deals with the pandemic. Oh, love that for the people. I don't think I'm trying to read pandemic fiction personally. Also, not something that I personally want, but you had a good time. And that's what matters here is that you had a good time. So I don't think I'll be reading Falling in Love with Hominids and those little short stories, but according to the little blurb that I was trying to read, they do have other books. So one of them could potentially find its way onto my TBR. Is that going to happen anytime soon? Probably not, because I'm still working through it's down to 9 books that I need to read for my February TBR project. And I kind of want to get to them this weekend, but what I really need to do is read my Patreon books. But that's more military war fantasy, I believe. So we're just going to be out here struggling. But I do need to read them because I don't read physical books during the week. So we have to get through those. That's my goal for the weekend is to read Miss Sky and Breath and those 2 Patreon books. And then maybe I can read the 9 books I have remaining next week. I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe it will. And y'all will get that vlog. I also need to actually start putting those clips into the timeline. Am I going to start editing the footage? No. But I do want to have it in the Adobe file. So when I am ready to um edit, it's all there. But I already know that I'm not going to want to look at that timeline because it's going to be another very long vlog, probably my longest vlog. If I had to guess, it's going to be longer than the Lee Bardugo video. So snacks will definitely be required for the I think it's also going to be my next vlog in general because I'm not well, aside from the Patreon stuff, because I'm not vlogging House of Sky and Breath because I love myself. And I just kind of refuse to do that. I'm not even sure if this is going to get a standalone review because there's nothing to review. Everything I have to say, I feel like I can just include in my February wrap up. Also, it's like 15 seconds until 15, so warning there. So yeah, I think Miss Sky and Breath is not gonna get a video. You're struggling to read the 2 books you need to read before the end of the month. Not that they're bad, just not in the mood to read. That's how I feel a lot of the time. Well, not in the mood to read, which I embraced this past week because the week before when I was doing those daily vlogs, it was too much. I don't know how people do that. Love it for the culture. It's never gonna be me again. But it's time to sprint. So let's get productive. Welcome back, readers. I'm now on page 266, so I think I read like 40 something pages, 46 pages maybe. So I'll probably get to page 300 before the sprints are over. The book isn't bad, it's just like I've read so much of it, and yet I haven't read any of it. And what I have read just kind of it just kind of exists. It feels very much like part filler content, part it's just a lot of exposition. So much exposition that it's hard to have a good time with it because nothing feels like the book doesn't feel like we're going anywhere. It just feels like a bunch of like we're just explaining things that I'm not sure need to be explained, or if they did, we could do it in a less boring manner. I don't know, but we're gonna do our last sprint at 55. 45. So 3-minute warning to our last sprint of the night. My goal was originally to get to 50%. I'm not reading 100 pages in the next 25 minutes. I do think I can get to page 300 and then maybe page 400 before I go to bed tonight. But then again, that's assuming I want to read this. And I don't. It's weird. It's weird. Very. Me and Sarah have had a complicated relationship because it definitely feels like I am back at the start of the pandemic when I read House of Earth and Blood on live, and I was just very underwhelmed. And I think part of me was because I'm one of the rare people that really enjoyed A Court of Silver Flames. And I felt that the plot there was at least compelling. The character study there was at least like we actually had like a character study. But here we're just kind of like bouncing around to these different characters as they investigate characters that Sarah killed off. And it's just like maybe you should have just killed those characters. Like if this character is so vital to the plot, why was it so important for them to also be dead? You know what I mean? Like why are they dead if they're this important? Like if the world cannot function without these characters in it, why are they dead? Like why would we choose to make that decision? It feels very foolish, to put it nicely. So it feels like we are going backwards because after reading the entirety of the Throne of Glass, and even if I take Akasif out of the equation and I just look at the 3 books in the Akatar trilogy, we can even take Frost and Starlight out. Those still feel like better books than Crescent City. Like these books being her like big splashy adult debut is so weird to me because I think that everything she's doing here, she's done better in other books. I feel like she's written better smut scenes in other books. She's given us better characters in other books. She's given us better romances and relationships and like messy dynamics in other books. So it's just like, why is this the one where suddenly I think this is what, $27? $28 Canadian. No, $28 American and 37 Canadian. Like that feels why is this one? why would this book? Is that necessary? Because I don't know that I think that it is. I don't know if I think that. And also I'm just never gonna go over how ugly this man is. Like this man is truly hideous, truly ugly. But it's 45. So I'm gonna pull up the timer one last time. We're gonna do sprints one last time. We're gonna get through this, and then we're gonna end it. we're gonna end our suffering. At least my suffering. Maybe y'all are having a better time with your books. I hope you are. Truly. that was the last. Every time I do that, I forget. That was the last sprint. So I'm ending this on page 312, which is okay, I need to move this up. A far cry from where I started the book on page like 100 something. And I wish I could talk about what actually happened, but the only thing that's in my mind is the little sex scene I just had to read where Bryce was getting eaten out on her kitchen counter, getting shocked with lightning, going ooh ah. It's just it's yeah, the Crescent City this is not the series. Okay, this is not the wave, it's not the moment. And I no longer think that y'all should start here. I no longer think that this is the perfect entry point to the whatever Sarah is trying to do. I don't know what she's trying to do, but this is not where to start. I used to think that. I used to think, yeah, pick up Crescent City. No. Just no. I feel silly telling people to pick up an 8-book series, but Throne of Glass is right there. It's right there, and it's her best work. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get any better than what she did with Throne of Glass. If you don't want to read 8 books, sure, go read ACOTAR. It's a cute little romp, you know. But if you want plot and characters, you have to pick up Throne of Glass. It's the only time that she has been able to like marry the two. And I don't know. Maybe at the end of this, Monet says that the last 8 pages are the only good thing about this. But I also know what happens in that time frame, like the big reveal there. And like maybe in the context, it'll make sense and I'll be excited for that plot development. But as of where I am right now, she's also, this will be the second time that she's done that, because House of Earth and Blood stands on its own until you get to the last 2 pages, and then it's like dun dun dun. And here it's like, okay, we're just like circling. It's a lot of treading water, and all of the subplots are connected to the same event. Monet said this in the buddy read thread or whatever, and I was like not fully understanding because I was only on page 57, but all of the characters are all working toward the same thing, which is not fun or interesting to read about because it's kind of multi-perspective, like we're kind of following a bunch of characters, but they all are trying to do the same thing and they all have very similar struggles, I guess. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to read any more of this tonight, but I should. I kind of, like I said, I want to finish 3 books this weekend. So if I want to do that, I'm going to have to read. But you'll have to be following me on Twitter or on Goodreads because that's all I got for you. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up now. Thank you all for coming out. Hopefully you were like me and were able to either finish something that you started reading with me, or you were able to make some decent progress in whatever task that you set out to do. But I'm going to go. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my evening, and I'll see you guys again soon with another video. But until then, and until next time, bye.